Good morning, YouTube. Today I'm profiling for you my Skull Servant deck profile. It's a really fun deck that is easy to pick up, easy to learn, but has so much of an impact and is really fun. So let's just hop right into it. Start off, we have to play 3 of the OG Skull Servants, just because he's a name in the deck that you need, and realistically it's so gimmicky that you just want to play 3 anyway. Then we play a playset of the King of the Skull Servants. This is the bread and butter of the deck. Gains 1,000 attack for each Skull Servant in the graveyard, which all these dudes act as Skull Servant in the graveyard. And whenever he's destroyed by battle, you can banish one, bring him right back. So it's amazing card, what makes the deck thrive. Speaking of what makes the deck thrive, we got a playset of White Prince. White Prince himself, whenever he is sent to the graveyard, you can, not once per turn, send a Skull Servant and Lady in White from your deck to the graveyard. Additionally, you can banish 2 and himself to special summon a King of the Skull Servants from your deck. Absolutely amazing. Not once per turn. Definitely want to play a playset of him. Then we play a playset of the Lady in White. Realistically, you don't use her so much for her effect as much as you will for the fact that she's going to be dumped in the graveyard and become a Skull Servant. But she does have the ability to protect your dudes from destruction and spell and trap card effects, so that's nice. Next, we play a playset of the White Princess. She helps search for your or dump your White Prince. Additionally, she has a kind of a cute little effect during either player's turn. You can ditch her from the hand or field to the graveyard to make all monsters lose 300 attack for their level or rank. So that's kind of nice, except it doesn't really work on links, but it's still you don't really use it for that, you use it for the dumping of the White Prince. Next, we play a playset of the White Mare. This helps just kind of rebuild your graveyard so that you can reset up your king. Definitely want him as a 3 though, just for that little bit of recursion. And next, we play a playset of the brand new White Baking. White Baking is absolutely amazing. He looks super fun. They had a great time when designing this card, I feel. Whenever he is sent to the graveyard, you can add 2. Let me just make sure I read this right. You can add, he gives you some protection first off, so you can protect your king or your Skull Servant, whatever. If he's sent to the graveyard by any means, you can add 2 monsters from different names from your deck to your hand, and they have to include Skull Servant, but not himself. And then you discard 1 card. Now this doesn't even have to be one of the 2 cards, so you can like search for whatever you want, search for a king, 2 kings, whatever you want, and then ditch a White Prince, whatever, just set up your graveyard automatically. Fantastic. Amazing, makes the deck kind of lethal. And that's going to be it. If you notice, this is a pretty big chunk, and the reason I play a playset of each of the cards, you just want as much Skull Servants in your graveyard as possible, and each one of them kind of gives the balance of the deck to make it function. And it's not too expensive to pick up too, I believe. I don't know, I've had mine for quite a while. Playset of Unizombie. Unizombie himself dumps cards from hand, dumps card from deck to graveyard, automatically want to run 3. He's also a tuner, so it gives you some nice little niche things in your extra deck. Speaking of tuners, run 2 Plague Spreader Zombies. I'm debating on taking him out because he just kind of, I don't know, he requires him to be in graveyard, then you have to dump a random card from the, it doesn't have that much synergy, but in the same sense, it's too good not to run in. Just running him as a free summon is really nice. Next, some one-offs and spells and traps. We run a 1-for-1 because you want to get to your king as soon as possible. A Foolish Burial, dump your White Prince, or any Skull Servant you want. That's the best part, is you don't actually have to just dump your White Prince if you're like out of materials. And a Card Destruction. Card Destruction is an amazing way of just getting rid of A, those bricky cards in your hand, refreshing your hand, and B, just kind of getting rid of your opponent's pesky hands. Amazing draw card, I guess, in one sense. Each one of these has their own niche for being in the deck. We're still a little bit in one-offs, but I put Monster Reborn with 2 Book of Lives, just because the ability to recur your graveyard is really nice, especially if you get as much like some disruption. And some banishing of your opponent's graveyard can be kind of nice. It can be a little bit iffy, but you're willing to go second, so the likeliness is your opponent will have a monster in the graveyard for you to be able to use that. So that's where we run those 3 cards. Now, Back row is a bit iffy. I did play White Veil, which I guess works now with the Armed Dragons, but now I play 1 Harpy's Feather Duster and 2 Twin Twisters. Obviously, you can replace these with whatever you have in terms of back row disruptions, some Lightning Storms, maybe throw in another Twin Twisters rather than Harpy Feather Duster, some Cosmic Cyclones, whatever strikes your fancy. Now, Spicy Tech. Realistically, this next card probably could be Pot of Extravagance, but I use those in other decks, first off, and second off, it's so fun to play a playset of hand destruction. What this card does is that you have to send 2 cards from your hand to graveyard, then draw 2 cards. First off, it doesn't allow your opponent to potentially use those cards that they're going to draw, or yourself, but just the ability to get 2 free cards and unclog your hand can be quite nice. Although the ability to, the late game, or when your hand is quite small, it's not quite amazing to draw, but I absolutely love it, and it's really fun to have. And rounding up our main deck, we run a playset of Burial from a Different Dimension. This is in here strictly for the fact that you can realistically special summon out a playset of Kings your first turn, and make him really big and beefy, and just the ability to recur your banished pile is super, super nice. That's going to wrap up the main deck. It's very, very tight and precise and quite easy to figure out, so this is definitely a fun deck for beginners. Moving on to our extra deck, we're running a really small extra deck, or a really weird. This realistically can be so many different things, but we run 4 Link 1s because most of your monsters are level 1. We're on the Link Kribo, obviously, for battle protection, Almirage for just spell trap, you know, for some just other protection, and Imod to steal your opponent's monsters. It's always fun and maniacal. Next, we run some Link 2s. We run a Wee Witch's Apprentice because all your monsters are dark, I believe. If there is, oh no, there are some lights in there. Either way, and just some recursion as well. I mean, you don't really use her so much for the attack because your attack is going to be absolutely huge, but just have the ability to recur is pretty nice. Cerebus and Phoenix just to pop some back row as some Link 2s. Next, we run a very small Xyz lineup in Lycoris, Extendable Nightingale, and Divine Arsenal AA, Sky Thunder, Zeus. You know, you obviously don't have to run these into here, but it's really fun to do, and just the sending your own stuff to the graveyard doesn't really hurt you, so it's super, super nice, and it's gimmicky, but again, you can replace this with whatever. Moving on to the Synchros, we run 1 Herald the Arclight. There will be often times where you brick and just need to get something on the board, and like I think, if I'm not mistaken, a Unizombie can realistically just get you to a Herald of Arclight, and it's pretty fairly simple to do so. 1 Ally of Justice Cataster. He's not as relevant as he used to be, but he does demand an answer for any deck that doesn't play Darks. 1 Shiranui Samurai Saga, just for some weird, just spell or battle position manipulation. Realistically, you can play any other level 6, but I just want to run them in there because he's a zombie, right? Speaking of just stuff you want to run there because you can, 1 Archfiend Zombie Skull. He can he protects all your zombies, so that's kind of really nice to have to protect your king. But again, any of our level 6 can work. 1 Black Rose Dragon, Mr. Destroy your opponent's board, and 1 Beals of the Divine Dragons because he, like, if your opponent doesn't have it out to him, you win. It's as simple as that. And that is going to wrap up my Skull Servant deck profile. Obviously, again, this isn't necessarily tier 1, but it is quite a fun deck that is, I believe it's still fairly easy to pick up and cheap. It is really nice for people to begin. I know we've started with some people with Skull Servants before, and I keep it in the back just for some fun things every now and then, and just realistically, with the addition of white baking, it definitely makes the deck so much more consistent. And this deck, while it does lose to a bunch of things because it is a going second deck and some disruptions, but it definitely requires an answer, right? Just activating all your effects and just bringing out the king and not activating his effect, just going straight for damage, can be quite lethal in itself because there's oftentimes people won't expect it whenever they go into a match, so they won't prepare for it, right? So let me know what changes you would make down in the comments section below. Obviously, there's some room for improvement, and I'd like some other people to know what that improvement can be. Above all, thanks for watching, and have a great day.